Welcome to the Deep Talks pod. Our guest today is Peter Griffiths, a motivational speaker and a mindset coach. So, just before we get started, I like to ask everyone, what is a deep conversation to you? Because I'm pretty sure you've had many of them in your life in the past.
Yeah, what a load. It's just a space where people feel comfortable to share like uncomfortable truths, you know, depending on what the topic may be. When someone really opens up, you know, I've been on both sides of them kind of conversations, to be fair. So basically just like talking about things that you wouldn't in like a big vicinity, do you know what I mean? Really like getting to the deep core of things, what are going on with you.
What is it that you do now?
So I do like lifestyle coaching, fitness coaching. I even help people build their brands on social media. I run community groups. I've got like a men's group, a women's group of like mentorships, helping people who were struggling with like things that I've struggled with over the years too.
And what have you invested to be able to get to that position? Or is it just all your own kind of knowledge and work?
When you say invested, mate, I've spent so much money on like personal development for myself as well as education, especially over the last 12 months. And to be honest, like not a lot of it sticks. Like you spend a lot of money. It takes a lot of money to become a coach. People underestimate like what actually goes into it, because there's a lot of people and they sell you a dream online. Like they tell you, oh, I can get you to this amount of money a month. And like they hold all the cards and they hold all the keys to the locks that you're looking for your business. So you buy into mentorships and stuff like that. And I've done it. I've tried more that have failed and more that haven't pulled off and hasn't even paid me back on or give me a return on my investment than I have ones that have actually, where I've took value from, do you know what I mean? So it's cost me a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money, and yeah, a lot of work, mate.
So looking, obviously, just mentioning mentoring there, and obviously you've invested in that yourself to become what you are currently right now, and you've probably seen the pitfalls of doing that, and also had probably some good mentors, you know, along the way. What would be for you then the meaning of mentorship and the purpose of having that in your life?
So me saying that I've like spent a lot of money, then it seems like I'm saying I've wasted it, but I don't think anything's a waste. I think I think mentorship is a massive thing. I think a lot of people's problems would be a lot less if they got their ego out of the way and actually invested in coaches and stuff like that, because there's people that have already made the mistakes that you're going to make, so you can time collapse your goals and you can like avoid certain falls and avoid certain mistakes and stuff like that, because there's certain people out there, genuine people out there, who have already been hurt, who have already had to pick themselves back up, who can stop you from going through those like trials and tribulations, if you will.
Yeah, I do think as well, though, obviously, I mean, you can say that there's certain people who are con men out there and things like that who are trying to, you know, just make a quick buck off you. But there's also, sometimes you have to find the right person for you, and that can take maybe a few wrong investments or this, that and the other to be able to find your path and find the right people for you. And I think sometimes it can be the right person at the right time, and then that time can change and it needs to be something different.
Yeah, you've got to keep adapting, mate, 100%.
With that.
That's something I can resonate with. I think we can all resonate with, because we're all online coaches. I value my time and my energy massively. So I don't mind investing money that I've already earned in the past to be able to save time and save my energy to get someone on board that can help me, that can allow me to not make the mistakes that they've made and get somewhere faster. Which obviously brings me on to the point of your online coaching. How do you help people in the space in terms of mindset and bettering themselves and personal development?
I think everybody's got a different problem, but most of the time it's getting out of their own way. Most of the time, anytime that I've ever struggled, I've always been my own worst enemy. I've always been in my own way. Like it's never been like a financial issue or something like that, because either way, if you've got, let's say, X amount of money in your bank, you're going to spend it anyway on shit or whatever, you know. But it's convincing people that, you know, you've got to invest in yourself and investing into your own personal development and stuff like that.
What would be your pillars then of things that you need to invest in then within yourself? Like what in your opinion would be the things that you would say the most important, say 3 points in terms of self-development?
I think you need somebody else's voice, someone who's not going to sugarcoat things for you. And I think that's like people like us, like knowing you boys and knowing myself, like that's why we do so well with people and we have good like transformation results and stuff like that, is because we're not afraid to tell people where they're going wrong and point out their areas, and we're not going to sugarcoat them, and we're not going to say certain things that they're doing are okay when they're not, do you know what I mean, and give them any fluff, do you know what I mean? I think that's like in the coaching space, like you were saying before, there's a lot of people just like stroke people's egos just to get them through the door, to get them on a 90-day transformation or a 12-week program, and that just to pocket the money when they really don't care. But like coaches who really care and people, mentors who really care, they point out the flaws in order to eliminate them first, you know what I mean?
That's a big thing in coaching, being able to tell someone what you're doing is wrong, to be able to get them to drop their ego so you can then step in. And obviously we can relate to that with people coming to us that want to transform how they look, transform their lifestyles, but they're not willing to drop their ego and put a little bit of work in to get to where they want to be. Now that brings me on to obviously yourself, going back maybe 15 years, 16, in jail, first step foot in the gym. How did that allow you to become the person you are now?
That's just like one of the things that add to I've got a laundry list of a past for you, mate. You've probably not got enough tape in the camera to go through it all, but like I remember, because when you start your fitness journey, you always remember where it started, and mine started in prison, in a gym, because I walked in there and I'd never seen anybody so big. I'd never seen anybody so strong, and I automatically like looked up to it straight away. I thought, don't get me wrong, my idea of fitness back then, I had it all completely wrong, because I thought like big and strong meant you could fight, meant you was more respected, stuff like that. I thought like a whole nother world open for like big, strong people. Do you know what I mean? So my first exposure to that was in prison, in a young offenders in a gym. Do you know what I mean? But it was just like, it got addictive straight away. But I was all addicted to it for the wrong reasons. I was chasing like
ego.
Yeah, chasing ego, chasing street cred that I was never going to get. You know, always thought, because of everybody that I ever looked up to, because I didn't really have like a strong father figure or a positive male role model. Everybody that I looked up to on the streets and stuff like that, they were all big and strong, like, you know, and respected and feared almost, you know what I mean? So I was always looking up to that. And the first time actually was in a place where I felt like I could manifest that for myself and build that was a prison gym. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's obviously brought you on to boxing, which is, I'm guessing, what you do majority of the time for your training now.
Yeah, boxing's something that, sorry to cut you off, boxing's something that I've only just recently picked up over recent years. It's something that I've always wanted to do, but then it's like, that's another ego thing. That's completely shifted my mindset on the whole training. Like I used to be like 2 stone heavier than what I was now. I used to think that I was capable, and when you go into like gyms and stuff like that, that's where your ego gets squashed, because you realise just how wrong you've got it. It's a place to really like, you know, you figure a lot out about yourself in a boxing gym.
But that's something obviously that I do say to a lot of the people that I work with, who are thinking about, you know, competing or whatever. You have a lot of people who are just doing it for the fitness and the fun of it and the movement base and this, that and the other. But when they're thinking about competing, I do explain that to people, that be prepared that it's going to be an ego check. But that ego check becomes addictive. I think that ego check becomes addictive because there's not many places, this goes for all combat sports, where you're in that point of combat conflict, controlled environment, where you do get that ego check instantly. It's an instant ego check of like, oh, I've got that wrong, or I'm not what I think I am.
You can't lie in there.
I'm not as fit as what I think I am. Like there's loads of little things there that I think as a human being is really good for you, and that's why obviously I promote for someone to actually at least give it a go once. Do you know what I mean? Get to a point where you can actually, you know, learn the skill to the point where you can actually engage in doing a round or two. Even, do you know what I mean? To be able to experience that, especially for young people, because it puts you in your place. It gives you that like what you're saying there as a young man. You probably never had that. You probably never had that. It was always probably just scuffles. You know what I mean? That you were out and about, and it was all bravado and ego and this, that, and the other. And you probably looked at lads in the gym and thought, idiot. Do you know what I mean? Mate, do you know what I mean? If I'd have them anyway, do you know what I mean? But then obviously as a man, you've experienced that other side, and been like, whoa. It's an eye-opening experience, but you've been able to accept that and use that now to benefit your own life.
Yeah, it's humbling, mate, and it gives you a lot of respect for a lot of people, and it opened up my eyes to like the discipline and that inside those gyms. Like I think a lot of even down to the school systems and the younger kids and the younger generations, that a lot of problems would be solved if they incorporated boxing into the school system and into like college systems or like early release systems and stuff like that, because it teaches you discipline.
I think
there's
a movement anti that, which there's this woke brigade, of thinking that needs to be the way. When actual life's hard, and taking a smack in a controlled environment is nothing compared to how hard life can be. Do you know what I mean? And having them experiences and being able to overcome that and mentally after taking maybe a bit of a hit or whatever, or you know, the competition of that with friends, between friends, you respect your friends 10 times more. Some of my bestest mates I've had wars with, you know what I mean, in the gym over the years, and I think like that's, you know people better from that. I mean, obviously that's a different kettle of fish doing it as a professional, and or even like doing it at the same level that you're doing it, like doing it on a more recreational, say, level. You're still having some gym wars with your pals, like, you know what I mean, and you learn to love them in a different way. Do you know what I mean? And there's definitely an element to that. But going back to what you just said there about how training has changed you mentioned discipline for the younger kids, this, that, and the other, maybe trying boxing. But what other areas of your life has training been able to maybe help you?
So I didn't know the correlation between mental health and physical health. I just always thought, go gym, get big, look tough, get respect. Like, I just thought it was like that. Go out, show off how big my arms are, whatever. At the time, like I was saying, just stroking my own ego. I didn't understand until I had my own breakdown, my own mental health issues, that it was the physical exercise and the stimulus I was getting from training that was actually going to pull me out the gutter, that was going to pull me out of like this mental breakdown that I went through in my mid-20s. I was just flat out drinking and doing drugs all the time, to the point of where I hit the floor with it. And then I went through like a period of like self-harming, and like where I wouldn't say I was suicidal, I just didn't know how to live. I was just struggling so much. And I remember one day I was laying in bed and not showered for like 2 days, and I was laying there and I just had a moment where I was thinking like, I didn't want to be here anymore, but not because of like, I just hated how I was living, because I just thought this was it. I didn't know how to live, and I just thought like the idea of fun, the idea of escapism was all like into one, and it was doing nothing but just running me down into the ground. And then I was physically self-harming and stuff like that. And then one day I was just laying there and I thought, I can't carry on living like this. And I thought, I'm just going to get up. I seen a motivational clip, funnily enough,
just
on YouTube.
About to mention that then. I was just about to say, was there anything did anything come into your life during that time in terms of talking about mentorship? Obviously, like what we try and do, and we work with people to help people through different situations now. Did anything come into your life at that point? Is it a family member? Was it, anybody that come into your life around that point, which kind of helped drag you out of that place as well?
It was YouTube, mate. Like, honestly, I say it all the time. Like, use the tools that we've got. We've got the internet's a tool, and like YouTube's like brought me up. Like when I was at my lowest low, I never even knew that motivation was a thing. I just thought you was happy, or you was sad, or you was flying, or you was crying. I didn't know about motivation, and I didn't understand about certain like mental health and stuff like that. I didn't understand any of it. So then the first clip I ever saw, a motivational thing, you can imagine what it did to me. It lit a fire in me. That's why I do a lot of speaking videos online for free, because I want to ignite that fire in other people that got ignited in me that day, that made me get up out of my pit, where I'd not showered for a couple of days, where I was covered in scabs and stab holes in my arms and that, and I was depressed, crying. I thought, I can't do it anymore, I need to do something. And I just pulled YouTube up one day and seen a video. There's an American motivational speaker, you might have heard of him, Eric Thomas, and his videos like, how bad do you want it? And it's like an NFL training pre-season, and I watched it about 3 times, and in the end just jumped up, threw some clothes on, went to the gym. Probably did one of the shittest workouts I've ever done in my life, but then felt actually good coming back with a pump, do you know what I mean? And I thought, then it started to dawn on me. I thought, this is what's going to keep making me feel sane. So then I just started building on that shitty first, like walking through the doors, not wanting to speak to anybody, hood up, hoping I don't see anybody that I know, because I was covered in cuts and bruises underneath my clothes, you know what I mean? Like down in the dumps, probably penniless, probably stinking of booze. I went in there, got a sweat on, came home, and I thought, this is it. Don't get me wrong, it weren't all uphill from here, but then it's like I had 2 things that were going to pull me out of it. I had motivational content, because nobody that I knew was speaking about it. And it was before like Instagram, and it was all talked about and all this awareness bullshit that you see all the time. There was none of that. It was just like myself, my reflection that I hated. And then I had the motivational content and the gym. So I thought, between these 2 things, I've got to be able to pull myself out of this situation. And it did just that for me.
You've mentioned social media there, and obviously the positive effects it had on you in the time. But we see social media now, everyone consumes it. What do you reckon obviously has negative connotations where everyone's comparing themselves to these lifestyles people are posting on social media that aren't necessarily true. How do you think social media could be better used in a sense like what you're posting there, what we do with our fitness side and coaching side, you're a motivational speaker yourself. Why do you think it is that people do tend to stunt or post these lifestyles that they're not living on social media? Is it insecurity, or is it they need the likes, they need the approval of other people to almost be calm within themselves and say to themselves, right, I'm doing well because I've got X amount of likes on a post or people have shared my page or whatever it may be?
It's the like instant gratification that you get. Like, we live in a society now where like people want it now. They don't want to work for it. They don't want to sweat for it. They want, and because you can get that from social media. Social media is just like a highlight zone, so you can go on there and you can see somebody and look, and you can create your own life story on there and sell people a dream and hire a Lambo and pretend that you're doing all these things and sell people courses. I fell for it. I've invested in people that have looked like they were balling, but they were just one big PR stunt. Some of these fake gurus online that have sold me a dream and I've bought it. So then like there is a lot of like toxicity on there, and there is a lot of people on there that are like pulling the wool over people's eyes, and then there's people on there that are surviving just off numbers and likes. I've been guilty of it myself. Like, when you go viral for the first time, like, one of my posts has got 3.6 million views on it, and it's the only one that has. It's the only one that's got the one that's close to 1 million. But when I first seen them numbers, I was like, just thinking about, if it carries on like this, where's it going to go? And I was on a high, but then the second it started to slow down a little bit.
It's like taking drugs now.
It's a dopamine hit. That's what it is.
The dopamine hit, exactly, mate. That's what I mean. It's like the highs only last so long, but it's saying you've got to manage the lows. So people that are surviving off like likes and stuff like that, it's seeking the approval of people who don't even like you at the end of the day. Do you know, people don't remember the content they saw yesterday. Like, if I asked you to tell me what you saw yesterday on social media, you probably fucking... The average person's attention span's between 3 and 5 seconds on any piece of content on any platform.
I think anyone who runs their own social media and then they look at like their say like insights to anything, and it shows how much someone's watched a reel, and these could be some of your most viewed reels, and it's like 2 seconds, 3 seconds.
Skipped after 7 seconds.
They've liked and moved on.
So they can't remember. No. So it's like, you know, you're trying so hard to impress people and sell people a dream or even chase these likes, and there's no substance there, because when you put your phone down, it's just you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I feel like people forget to be present and real life connections and build a network of people that are positive and resonate what you do and are familiar with yourself. That can play a big part, obviously, in your day-to-day life, rather than posting on social media and stunting a life that you're not necessarily living every day.
But that's where, again, going back to maybe finding the right mentors in your life, whether that's someone, a coach like what you've invested in, and obviously like this, that, and the other, but also certain people have those people in their lives just there. Friends, family, lucky people have that there. Not everyone does, obviously, like yourself, and you struggle with that and you have to find that yourself. But some people do have that, and people don't actually reach out, I think, and tap into that. Do you know what I mean? And look, instead, they go towards the negative. They go towards the easy people, the ones who are just going to inflate their egos, the ones who are just going to, you know, allow them to do their bad habits. They don't want other people who are going to be true to them and tell them, look, you're doing the wrong thing here, mate, or I think you need to do this, or the ones who might be leading by example, because then that affects their ego, that affects them as an individual. It makes them feel worse, when actually that's where they need to look at themselves deeply and think, I need to be more like that. And I think that's a lot of self-growth, though. I think the younger you are, the bigger your ego you've got, the less maybe mature, you know, mentally you are about things like that. And I think that can be a thing that you need to grow out of, but not everybody does. I think a lot of people don't grow out of that, and then they're always going to find the easy way out, and do the bare minimum.
Gets old though, mate. Like, it's not easy for a man to admit that he was been going wrong for, like, it weren't easy for me to admit in my mid-20s that I'd made an absolute shit show in my life and had spoiled every relationship I've ever been in and burnt a load of bridges and you know, and sacrificed a lot of like long-term success for short-term dopamine and stuff like that. It weren't easy to just look inwardly and go, your life's an absolute shit show because of you. Like, a lot of people, it's taking accountability and reflecting on all your wrongdoings and taking ownership of the things that you've been involved in, even if you was only involved in it 5%, is saying, right, I can do better. But not a lot of people are willing to do that. A lot of people like to hide and you know, even if they had the best thing for them, it just depends on who's showing them. Like you were saying before, you could have all, like, it's always the people who come from family money and always have the peg ups and the leg ups and all that. They're the ones who are the worst kind of people because they've not had to earn any of it. You know what I mean? They take it for granted. They've not had to get the sweat points for it. So you know they're not gonna capitalize on it, bro.
What were some of your most traumatic events in your life that have shaped you to be who you are now?
How long have you got? I don't know. I've had a few years which are a bit worse than others. Like I had a year once where I got stabbed in a nightclub and I went to about 5 funerals in a year, and I was really struggling, like mentally, running to substances and things that were breaking me and stuff, and I was just always in and out of trouble with the police and things like that. And I feel like rather than, I'm one of them guys, like, you can tell me to stop speeding a million times. It's not until I bend my car on the tree that I'm actually going to go, right, it's time to pack it in now. Like, I've had one of them big moments that should have shaped you, like, going to prison at 16. I used to look like the Milky Bar kid when I was 16. It weren't nice, you know what I mean? That should have been a wake up moment. Like, I've been in like car crashes where like I'm being told I'm lucky to even be in here, but I'd still go out 3-4 weeks later drunk getting in a car. Like, I was just a hard-headed learner. It takes me a million falls to actually get up and actually do something about my mistakes, you know. So to pinpoint one thing, it'd be hard. It was just a point of where you just get sick of your own shit, bro. And it wasn't until like my late 20s, I'm in my mid 30s now, so when I got in my late 20s, I was just sick and tired of my own shit, sick and tired of like not making a difference, living a life with no fulfillment and no purpose. And then that's when I started to look inwardly and actually start to think, right, I understood that I wasn't getting what I deserve, because in life you get based on who you are and who you show up as, and I was just showing up all the time as a half-hearted, sometimes gym, sometimes party animal, weren't really trustworthy, didn't really have any decent relationships. I wasn't a good guy, do you know what I mean? So then after so long, I just looked at myself and I thought, I've got to change something, and that's when I started my personal development journey.
Mm-hmm. So you got into the gym, you got into boxing. So taking the ego side out of it, the fitness side away from boxing, how important do you think it is to have a combat sport or an understanding of a combat sport to be able to not only protect yourself but protect your loved ones away from the gym? Someone's maybe ran up to you in the street, or someone's robbing your house from where I'm from. How important do you think that is to be able to almost protect yourself, fight off anyone?
It gives you it's a sense of understanding about your fellow man, and it gives you a respect for people, especially people that do train themselves. You respect them so much more when you actually see what it takes to go into like a boxing gym and actually survive in there and actually do something. Not even just boxing, MMA, whatever, any sort of physical sport like that that's very demanding. It demands your time, your energy. It's not just like school, you turn up and then when you go home it's done. It's playing on your mind. It's a constant thing, like, oh, I should have done this right, I can do this better. Like, it's like we were saying before, it's like a big like moment of realization about yourself. And I think that's what's missing, especially with the younger generation. And like you say, in places where we come from, a lot of people spend all their lives trying to be someone they're not, running from themselves. And I think you find more out about yourself in a combat sports gym in an hour than you would 5, 6, 7 years out on the streets. You know what I mean? And I think it really needs to be spilled into like the younger generation, mate. 100%.
What's the direction right now then for you in your journey? Obviously, with doing what you're doing within the boxing space. What's your goals? Like, obviously, you've had, how many fights have you had now?
2. I've got one next week.
You've got one next week,
yeah.
And like, so what's your goals with it? Where do you want to go with it yourself? Obviously, I know you come to boxing late and it kind of shaped your, like, say, self-development journey, and it's give you, all the positives, what you're talking about here, what boxing can give. It's give you that. But what's your personal goal then with it? Where do you want to go?
So I lost my last fight, and that was tough. I underestimated when I used to see like sports athletes after a loss, after they come second or something like that. And I used to see them crying afterwards and stuff like that. I underestimated it. I thought, yeah, you've dedicated your life to it, but I couldn't relate to it. But now I've been on the receiving end of a beating. I don't mean like a physical beating, because I've had too many of them to even remember. I mean it's like a beating of your character. It's one of the most manly things you can do. Go out and put yourself on offer in front of a crowd of people in a physical, fair one-to-one altercation. Like there's not a lot of things like deeper than that, you know. And when you don't pull it off, and you've been training your bollocks off for it, and it doesn't go your way, it hurts your feelings. And like to bounce back from that, I think that's improved my character massive. So to overlook my fight next week and say, I want to go here. Don't get me wrong, I've got dreams. Look, I'd like to be, because of my platforms growing and stuff like that, I'd like to be on one of those influencer boxing shows and getting a paycheck. Who wouldn't? Do you know? But I just, as long as I go out and wear my heart on my sleeve and make a strong account of myself, and I get this win next week and stuff like that.
Proving things to yourself then, basically. So the main thing is to keep, like, probably the loss is probably going to be a blessing in disguise. Like, I mean, obviously I've been through that as a young man. And then my journey of even like the loss of boxing was probably a big lot. I would say a loss. Do you know what I mean? That you have to overcome, and an ego check, a massive one. Do you know what I mean? For myself, and coming through that adversity can then help with your personal growth 10 times more than winning 10 fights or doing whatever you're going to do in business or whatever. Like, overcoming them obstacles, which you've already come over a hell of a lot in your life anyway. But just something like that, just a loss from boxing, has reignited another fire in you to really prove to yourself, you know, who you can be and who you want to be. And even if you went out probably in the next fight with the same guy and lost, you've proved that you can get back in there with that same guy, and that's a massive achievement, because not many people could do that. Never mind just getting in the ring, but getting in that ring and going again with the person who, you know, you come second best to. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
100%. It's the fear of failure. A lot of men are scared of failing. Like, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to fail. I failed at a lot of things a lot of the times over the years, and I just think, like, that's when you learn more about yourself, when something doesn't go your way. If everything went your way all the time, you'd be a shitty person. If you'd never experienced loss and never experienced pain or hardship or seen it and seen what it looks like or feels like you wouldn't be able to relate to a lot of people if you just got everything you wanted in every situation. Like, you wouldn't be able to build character from that. I think it's in our losses and in the mistakes that we make, and when things don't pull off, even when we have fought our heart out for it and stuff like that, like, you know, I think that's when you learn more about yourself than anything.
So one thing that all three of us can resonate with, of course, all three of us go to the gym. How do you reckon that going to the gym can affect your network in a positive way? Because a lot of people see the gym as this negative thing that, you know, they're either overweight or they've got to go and sweat for an hour, put in some hard graft. But it's an environment where you can meet like-minded people at the same time.
You've got something like, I would never laugh at a fat person in the gym, because they're actually taking action. They're physically walking through the doors, leaving their ego at the door and trying to make a transformation. Like, I used to look at the bodybuilders in the gym when I was a little scrawny, and I used to look at them and be like dead intimidated about it, until one old guy said it to me in the gym. He said, every single person in the gym's got one thing in common. They're trying to change something about themselves. He's like, so you've got something in common with the biggest, strongest guy in the gym. You're all there trying to physically change something about yourself. Do you know what I mean? So you've got more in common with people in the gym than you have outside the gym, because you're all there and you're actually showing up for yourself and physically taking action, you know, to get the things that you want in life. So I think, like, and some of the conversations with people, it's pure. You know, they're not steaming drunk. They're not telling lies. Like, the weights don't lie. Like, the punch bags don't lie. The boxing ring doesn't lie. Like, in these environments, like, you're putting yourself on offer. You're showing your strengths. You're showing your weaknesses, and you know that it's a good way to bond with people. It's probably the best way.
Well, them endorphins are pumping, aren't they? That's the big thing as well. So when you're actually in that gym, 90% of the time, everyone's in a good mood. And there's that energy, but especially in class-based stuff. Obviously, you know, you'll do yourself doing the boxing classes and things like that, where you're not got your headphones in, you're not zoning in your own little space. You're working with people, you're working, you know, you're egging people on, you're taking little cues from other people. Do you know what I mean? And you're feeling that energy, and you could walk into that class and feel flat, but the ego comes in as well, when you're thinking, I've got to work harder than him next door to me. Do you know what I mean? I want to show that I'm the best to the coach or whatever, whoever you're trying to impress, or you just might want to think, well, I'm not getting out work today. Do you know what I mean? That part of it, as well as, you know, the other person doing the same thing to you, and this, that, and the other, it builds that camaraderie, doesn't it? You know, with people, and I think that is something that people don't actually appreciate when they're training in the gym. Do you know what I mean? And I think, like, that's something that we can all, you know, resonate with. Absolutely. Going back to something you did before, we were talking about there, so the negative connotations that people have, and the negative opinions that people do have about starting up in the gym, and like, say, like, why they shouldn't start up in the gym. Like, what is your experience of, like, for yourself and other people as like their excuses to not get involved in fitness and obviously being physically active?
I just think, I don't know, that's an ego thing again, because I think, why would you not? I just think it's harder, like, even for the people who are overweight and struggling, it's harder to stay at home and be a couch potato than it is to go in and break a sweat. Like, it's the most cliche saying, like, the only workouts that you regret are the ones you didn't do. Like, it's the most cliche saying, but it's so true. Like, the only time I ever, like, really hated the gym was when I was sat at home procrastinating, worrying about stepping through the doors, because I was beating myself up inside, and I didn't want to speak to people, and I wanted to be that guy with my headphones in and didn't want to converse with anyone. I just wanted to go in and just, like, get my work done, but I couldn't, you know.
Never enjoyed it the same.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it, and that was when I didn't, because I was separating, like, the mental benefits, and I didn't realise that I was doing it for me. I was worrying about the opinions of everybody else and putting my dreams and my gains and what the things I wanted to build with myself on hold for the sake of, one, my ego, two, the would-be opinions of other people. And really, all I was doing was holding myself back. And that's what the people that sit at home and the people that try and mock the gym or whatever, they're like the most low vibrational people there is.
Why do you think it's misunderstood then? Because there must be some reasoning as to, like, for a lot of these people, not all people, because some of them might just be lazy, wanting to do just the bare minimum, which is next to nothing. Like, some people can't even get up to go to work, do you know what I mean, and strive for better in their own, in their life, never mind going to the gym. So that's a problem within society. But, like, what do you genuinely think would be the misunderstanding around going to the gym or having that as part of your life?
I just think it should be a staple. Like, your physical appearance is the number one thing that you can manifest.
Let's say for the people that then don't see that, like, what
I reckon,
what could be said to them people to be able to maybe fire that, you know, that given that urge to think, you know what, I need to try that, instead of it just being, I can't try that, or I shouldn't try that.
If you can't find inspiration and motivation from looking in the mirror and looking at your body that you're not happy with, or you can go into the next room and look at your kids sleeping and you think that they don't deserve a big, strong, muscly parent. Like, if you ask your kid to draw their parent, they're going to draw a big muscle man on the playground. They're not going to draw some little pot belly on a little stick man, are they? Do you know what I mean? They look up to things like the Hulk, to Superman. They're like, you should be that person for your parent. And the way you start doing it, you build a character in the gym. Gyms are where characters are made, you know. It's just, if you don't want it bad enough and you can't look around and use your kids as motivation and inspiration, look at other people's stories. Take mine. I was contemplating offing myself. I was struggling bad, not showered for 2 days, cuts and bruises all over myself, where I was taking blades to myself every week because I was struggling mentally with drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. And it got me out of that and got me up and got me outside, you know. And go and watch the Disabled Olympics. There's people there's people like absolutely flying with missing limbs, and you're sat there with a fully functioning body, you know.
I'm not using it.
And you're moaning about it. It's being ungrateful and not appreciating, like, your health and stuff like that. Like, you know, some people, there's no talking to them, bro. If they don't want it for themselves, you can't. I say it all the time to people that come and say, I push anyone, but I won't drag you. I won't come to your house and drag you off your couch. Like, I'm not doing it.
We were chatting about this the other day, about, you know, people who do the bare minimum, and they think even just, like, God's going to gift it to them on a plate, just because they think about it, or they might even talk about it, and they think that's enough. Do you know what I mean? And that goes for not just obviously fitness, but everything in life, where people they don't want to take that step even. Do you know what I mean? And then some that do take the step, but think that's even enough. Like, obviously we mentioned, obviously, you walked the first time you walked in the gym, but how long was that journey from you walking into that gym at 16 to then having a mental breakdown, to then having more and more carnage in your life and this, that, and the other? That step didn't change your life. That was just the thing of, I need to go back to that. I need to go back to that. I need to go back to that.
Experience, yeah, that I could relate to.
You had to commit. You had to commit. You had to push yourself that bit further to become the man that you are today. And that's something that isn't the bare minimum. That's something where it takes commitment. It takes discipline. It takes, you know, a desire to be better. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people miss that bit. Like, they go into the gym and they're doing the thing, but they're not doing it. and they're not investing. They're not educated, so then they're not going to ask someone to educate them. Not even pay for someone. Ask someone. That you were saying before in the gym. You spoke to a guy in the gym and he said to you, "What are you getting insecure about? We're all there trying to improve some part of ourselves. That's it. That because you asked that question, that gave you at ease. Do you know what I mean? Some people just go into the gym, they don't know what they're doing, which is fine. You're not going to know everything, are you? But you've got to be able to walk into a place and have. Well, I'd like to be able to tell people that. Go and ask people, because most people in gyms are nice people, and they want to engage in that conversation with you. Do you know what I mean? To help you out. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think like obviously like where you've, the journey that you've been on through the whole thing, you're like the epitome of that, where you've gone there, it's failed, you've come back and you've redone it, and you've built yourself up using fitness and mindset to be able to become the man that you are.
It's just a base layer for me. I just think training it, anybody that doesn't train, I don't know. I can't relate to it, because I know firsthand what it can do. It can change your life. And if you like I was saying, if you've got kids and if you've got people that are looking up to you, especially as a man, like, you should be going out and like putting yourself on offer, and you should be building yourself up from the ground up. And the first place you do it is in the gym, or with some sort of physical exercise. You don't have to be the next bodybuilder, but you should be into your fitness. This is the only body that we get to carry us through this journey called life. So why would you not, like, one, celebrate what it can do, because you wake up every day with a fully functioning body, and two, push yourself, because it will help your mental health and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I reckon a lot of people can look at the end goal and think they've got this massive mountain to climb. And I always say, you either pay the price of discipline or you're paying the price of regret. And that brings me on to kind of wrapping up this pod. If you could give one message to someone stuck right now, what would it be?
Just don't be afraid and humble yourself and reach out to somebody online, whether it's like one of us or somebody, because everybody's got that one person online on social media that voice resonates with them. And instead of just getting the dopamine from the little clip and the little boost that you get and surviving from clip to clip, open a conversation. You'd be surprised. Like, move your ego out of the way and message some people, and because you're one conversation away, like I was, away from having your perception flipped and your mindset changed, and then getting your ass in gear and actually doing something with your life.
If people wanted to reach out and find you, what would be the best possible way?
Instagram's probably the most thing I'm most active on. It's Peter G Knows on Instagram, on all social media platforms, on YouTube and stuff like that. Reach out on any of them, but Instagram's the one that I use the most, where I chat to people. My DMs are active now, constantly. Yeah. So I answer all my messages. I see them all, even the weird ones.
Thank you very much for having you. Continue changing people's lives. Continue working on yourself.
Appreciate it, man.
And it's been a pleasure to have you on, mate.
It's been a pleasure to be here, mate.
Good luck for next week as well, mate.
Don't need luck.